Hello and welcome back to Talk Seagulls. And oh my God, we are in very different settings today. If you didn't see by the intro already, we are in Etch in Hove with, thanks to Masterchef's champion right here, Stephen Edwards. It's absolute pleasure to be here, by the way, and great to have you on.
Thank you. That introduction was amazing. I've got to live up to that now. But
I'm normally horrible to my guests, so you should take it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And by the way, what's this? We need to explain that. I mean, you set some stuff up.
I thought it'd be rude not to have you along and not to try something. But so these are our snacks in the restaurant. This is what every guest gets at the beginning of their journey with us. So we've got a little cheese biscuit there. So Lord of the Hundreds, local Pecorino style cheese, cheese biscuit, onion cream cheese, onion seeds, and then fresh cheese on the top. And then my favourite is that mushroom and truffle. We call it a tart. You saw how we built it. It's with a little bit of mushroom duxelle, truffle cream cheese, pickled Trimidi mushrooms, and mushroom powder on the top.
Wow, that is very
I thought it'd be a good way to give you like a little intro into what we do here at the restaurant.
Okay, if it's an intro, I feel like I should do it before I get into the video.
Yeah, go for it.
What, can I eat this whole?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Is this the whole
down in
thing?
one? Yeah.
Down in one.
Yeah. Like being back on Masterchef with
that's really nice.
It's that umami, like really savoury flavour. So you have this, then you have our signature Marmite bread and seaweed butter, and that's what starts you off.
I'm really getting the mushroom now.
Yeah.
Really getting the mushroom.
Good.
Well, that's good. I'll try the other stuff in a bit, but that was really nice. But I feel like that's a good way to intro. So Etch, I mean, let's talk about that before we get into the game, because it's a bit more exciting than talking about Brighton and Newcastle drawing 1-1, to be fair. So obviously you can see by the Masterchef right next to you, but Etch opened in 2017, just after you won this, really, 2013.
Yeah, and that's what's really nice is we opened Etch 8 years ago, the same year that Brighton got promoted to the Premier League.
Nice.
So there's always been that affiliation there. And we specialise in taster menus. We've gone through a different sort of setup where we were changing the menu every week to begin with, and now I think we've got it nailed. We change the menu 6 times a year, so every couple of months, using the best seasonal produce from the UK, trying to highlight as many Sussex products as possible, and just really having fun with food. We're doing our 5-course, £55 menu, so trying to keep it accessible as well, and take people on that journey. Like, fine dining doesn't have to be stuffy or pretentious, or you shouldn't be scared basically to eat out in these restaurants. And I want to welcome the guests as if they're coming into my home.
No, I like that, because I mean, I don't really know what to expect, to be honest. When I was coming in, it's my first time. I saw you a bit before this, but my first time coming here properly, and I thought, wow, bit of a higher status type move. It's going from going in the pubs to coming to somewhere in Hove. But
we want you to feel special. But to feel special, it doesn't mean you have to feel uncomfortable or you have to dress up or wear a tie. We want you to feel special because it could be a landmark occasion, or just because you just want to go out and eat some decent food. And that comes from the environment that we've created. We're not doing tablecloths. We're trying to strip it back and kind of just be a little bit contemporary with the styling. The kind of vision behind the restaurant layout was like London on sea, essentially. Like to feel like a special occasion. I think it needs to. You need to have that set up.
Yeah, I mean, you're right in what you say. Like, around Brighton, you want a bit more representation, places to go-to spots. I mean, you're a Brighton fan as well yourself, aren't you? So it's even better for something like this to go and promote it. And your connection to the club now is much closer, thanks to obviously all of this that's happened for you. But now you've got the Tunnel Club as well, knocking on your door, asking for a restaurant, and you're not going to complain about that. No,
that was really a dream come true. I remember when I opened Etch and seeing Brighton getting into the Premier League. Something for me personally was to have a connection with the club in some capacity. I love food, I love football, I love family. So it all ties into my principles.
And the terrace as well.
Yeah, that's kept me busy. So in the last couple of months, we've launched
so much stuff going on.
Yeah, and that's what's great about networking. I think the biggest challenge was opening the restaurant first, finding our feet, getting the concept right, and then what's really fun now is doing different things with foods, but still using our principles of using quality, local producers. launched a company called Bites, which you just touched on, doing premium burgers and hot dogs, and just giving the fans something, that those that want it, I think that's really important to say, a premium burger and hot dog.
Yeah. I mean, when the fan zone first opened, it was quite a big deal, right? I didn't really know what to expect myself. I'm one that would enjoy it, but I hate when it's so busy. So on the first day when I went there, I thought, okay, it's just gonna have a look, but it was absolutely rammed. So I thought, okay, I'll come back another time when it's a little bit less so. And I did, and yeah, you can definitely feel there's a bit more option now as a fan. I think you've got a little bit more that you can do pre-match and also eat. I don't think that there's been, apart from fish and chips, too much to have. You've had some burgers outside. But yeah, you don't really have that great deal of options. So you say it's a bit more focused on towards quality as opposed to just, not to discredit anything else, but it's a bit more quality in the food.
Number one, it's a space where people can meet. One of the games that stands out to me is when we played AEK Athens. And we had that massive downpour of rain after the game. And I was one of those people stuck in the queue, waiting to get on the train with my wife and kids. And you're just thinking, like, why is there not somewhere that you could just chill out, extend your experience, even if it's just to shelter from the rain, essentially. And because the train is a nightmare. We know the queues. I mean, when the weather's nice, it's not too bad. But when it's raining like that, it's not ideal. No. And so the location is really important. But then it gives the club, I think, an opportunity to do something different. It'd be really easy to say anything you can get inside, you can have outside. That would be like the easy thing to do. And I think, seeing the way Tony Bloom's set up the club, the easy option isn't always the first thing. He's doing the right thing.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I think as well, it's one of them where the queues, as you say, it's so big at times. I think I remember, was it the Palace game? And there was another game quite local to here. I feel like it was Bournemouth or something. And the trains queues was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I do drive into the ground. So I normally go to the uni of Sussex and park across and come back over. So that's been my routine. So I tend to get a bit smug avoiding that. But then equally, coming back onto the A27 at the moment, it's not much more fun.
Those roadworks are like every game, every time we prep, because like obviously with the location of Etch and the stadium, I'm kind of splitting my time between the two sites. So I can't wait for those roadworks to finish, to be honest.
Yeah, but again, it's like, you've got somewhere to actually go. It keeps people around the ground a little bit longer. I was always one that before would probably go to the North Stand after the game and meet, like if I was to meet a friend or something. And I guess it just gives you a bit more of a, stuff to do really after the game. So it is there for the right reasons for sure. But no, I mean, it's quite a mad achievement really when you take a bit of a zoom out. Do you ever do that very often? Do you look back and think, okay, I've got this thing and that's now opened in Hove? You think, okay, let's now push it a little bit further, and now all of a sudden you're representing the club you support, bringing that quality food aspect to stuff. I feel like it's not just living your dream, you're almost pushing the boat out and making more opportunity for more things.
I think, just speak to my wife, I'm never happy.
No.
I'm guilty of that. Obviously I'm really proud of what I've achieved so far, but there's a lot more to come from me, and I just want to keep putting myself out of my comfort zone. I think that's what I like doing. Yeah. Maybe not at the time when we're opening something like Bites or the Tunnel Club. It feels quite stressful, but actually I love that buzz. And that's something that I found on MasterChef was, again, it's coming back to the easy road. The easy road would be just to have the restaurant and just stay here, keep doing what we're doing. It's almost
like you've opened your restaurant, you've had that dream, but then it goes that bit further. You're not just settling with being in Hove. It's great. It's a great achievement.
I'm just hungry. I'm just hungry to push myself as hard as I can. I never want to rest on my laurels. And that's what's really difficult. It's a great question that you asked, because it would be really nice to sit back and reflect on achievements gone, but actually there's a lot more to achieve in the future, and that's the way I've always looked at it.
And when the chef's hungry, he's got to deliver. But no, it's very commendable. So I say congratulations for it. To be honest,
thank you.
We'll move it on to the football, because this is. For me, it's a bit of a difficult one. Depends on who I speak to. I feel like I ask some people, how do you think of the season? Amazing season. How do you think of the season? Rubbish season. I feel like I don't get a linear answer from everybody that I ask. So I'm going to ask you very flat and bluntly, what do you think of the season?
It's mixed. And I know that might sound like sitting on the fence, but there's been... but to be honest, I was expecting that as well. We've got a very talented young manager in charge of the team, very different to De Zerbi. And I think the way I always try and look at the season is as a whole. I think that's really important because the way the fixtures come out, you've got to look at it over those 38 games rather than just, for those 8 games we won all of them and then 6 games we lost. I think you've got to look at it as a bigger picture. And I think I speak for a lot of Brighton fans and say that if this is the situation that we're in right now, at the beginning of the season, most fans would have bitten your hand off for that situation that we're in now, fighting for Europe. I think what's hard is seeing it so close. It's almost like touching distance, and it just feels like it could be taken away. But I've always been optimistic. I'm always positive, and I think for me, if you're going to come and support the club, I think you need that optimism, even if it's fake optimism, because that does transcend to the players and the team 100%. Yeah. You feel that nervousness sometimes around the club, and you are right. Like generally, as soon as you get to 60% of the fans all thinking the same thing, it does impact the players.
The false hope that delusion that you almost write yourself a picture every single week. At least I do every single week. I mean, football for me is it goes beyond just what's on the pitch, right? And I don't just watch football to watch football and watch the game as it is. For me, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. It's the whole day out. It's everything about the week. It's how I feel on the Monday. It's how I'm going to feel on the Friday evening before the game. Well, that's provided we ever get a 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff again. But it's how I feel throughout the whole week, right? Football is my entire life. I look forward to it. I hate it. I love it. And that's it. And I think that's the thing with football this season for us. It's been so up and down. It's been so emotional. We've gone from having massive highs. We obviously went on that 6-game winning streak, wasn't it, not so long ago, to then come back down to a bit of reality and go through a bit of a rough patch. I think just before the 6-game winning streak, I think we had that 7-0 defeat to Forest. So it really has just been a season of severe ups and severe downs as opposed to just having any sort of stability. So do you think as a club this season, would you be happy if it were to say we did miss out on Europe, which I don't want to say looks likely, but just on the basis of Brentford's form, I would be surprised to see them drop too many points at this stage. And we seem to be in a bit of I'd say the Newcastle game was better, but still probably didn't deserve to win the game as much as I maybe thought we did at the beginning. Do you think that instability is still going to be enough to maybe see one more high before the end of the season, or do you see that sort of riding its wave with Brentford being quite consistent at the moment?
I think anything can happen. I think we even saw it with Newcastle. Newcastle's form, they had the 2 big wins and then a loss. And I think where we are in the table with the teams around us, I think everyone's probably thinking the same as us. And that's why
Forest another one.
Yeah, Forest must be kicking themselves. Like that's a great comparison to Forest, who have had pretty much been in 3rd position all season, and now it feels like it's been taken away from them. But if you'd asked them at the beginning of the season, and that's where I know that's what being a football fan's all about, but a little bit of perspective goes a long way. I think they are nervous at Forest. I think you can see it, and that nervousness is definitely heading out onto the pitch. But I also think anyone can beat anyone in that middle area at the moment. You come into the business end of the season where nerves and holding yourself accountable for things, it's like the final. They're like 3 cup finals. That's what we've got left, and whether those players have got it in them, we're going to find out.
I'll zoom in a little bit on the actual game as opposed to taking too much of a wide view. So there is only 3 games left this season, so it is definitely the crunch time part of it where you think, okay, it is like a final. You lose the next game, Brentford win the next game. It could all but see us out of the race, but we keep the positivity going. I'll look into that, particularly into that first half, where actually I thought we were much better. And by better, I mean, I saw in the side this week, we were almost a bit more pragmatic, and that I was quite happy with how we defended throughout the majority of the game. And it reminded me, if you remember, back in October of that Newcastle away fixture, where we went there and effectively soaked up about 20, 30 shots throughout the game. I think Newcastle came away with about 2 or 3 XG. I think we had 1 shot, if I remember rightly, but won the game. And it was quite rare to see us do something like that. I don't normally see Brighton go out and be pragmatic. It nearly worked again, I would say. I thought we were going to do a similar thing where soak up quite a lot of chances, soak up quite a lot of scares as such. I thought defensively we were much better, and that's probably boosted by the fact that you got Webster, Igor, Van Hecker back into the side, Joel Veltman, Tariq Lamptey. We were boosted a lot defensively. Do you think, particularly having them names back now, gives us a little bit more foundation perhaps to not having that insecurity perhaps at the back?
Yeah, I think with all the positions in a team, having that familiar back four and a goalkeeper, that is...
But had a great game.
Yeah, he did. Another great game. It's just having that stability to build the foundations on, because you can mix up the front three, or I mean midfield's another one, but I think when it comes to attacking, you want that almost like creativity and that flair, so something a little bit different to mix it up. When it comes to defending, like knowing who you're stood next to and how you're going to work as a team is something that's really important, and it gives any team that confidence to have that.
Do you see Yankuba Minte's celebration?
Yeah, I like to. I mean, I think, he's got to be careful. The whole situation of the sale was down to essentially PSR, and that's what's really fascinating about both Newcastle and Brighton's journeys into the Premier League. We're looking this season at Leeds and Burnley. Are they gonna stay up? There's a lot of talk, because like most teams that come up now go back down. But when Brighton got promoted, so did Newcastle and Huddersfield, and they all stayed up for one season before Huddersfield got demoted again.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more optimism of those teams coming up. They all had different plans, and that's what's fascinating about that Newcastle fixture. For me, is just seeing how both teams have gone about their business in very quite different ways.
Yeah, very.
But have had a similar journey. I think Newcastle have done it slightly better, but we're not too far behind.
I think with Newcastle, I wouldn't want to ever compare them, and I never forget the game during the Championship era when they beat us at our place 2-1. If you remember, I think they scored 2 goals in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And one of them was probably one of the worst goals you'll ever see in your life from Odiame, where I think it flicked over at least 3 of our defenders, and it beat Stockdale and I want to say Bong on the line.
Man,
and
you've got a good memory.
Bounced over their heads. And the reason I remember it so well, I mean, to be fair, I've got some really crazy trait where I can remember most games if you name me aside. But this one particularly was my 16th birthday. They turned it around and won 2-1, and I had so much hope in that game, thinking if we can win this, we'll go top of the league, and this will be...
And your celebrations as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Really ended bitterly, right? And I remember thinking, Iosi Perez, I'll never forget your name. Yeah. But secondly, forever in the Premier League, we've only lost twice, I believe, to Newcastle. So I've always wanted to have the upper hand on them. So actually signing Minte was quite a nice little one-up. I thought, right, okay, finally we got something over them. And when I saw him celebrate, to begin with, I wasn't sure if he was doing the respectful thing, where he sort of went over and did this. And then it appeared as though he was almost pointing at someone in the crowd, whether he was getting a hard time from somebody at the front. Probably quite likely. And then it just changed. It seemed as though he almost went bipolar. He went from 1 minute being really respectful to think, actually, do you know what? Forget these guys. I'm here now. And I think he started patting the badge. He started kissing the Brighton badge, and then almost signalling to the West Stand afterwards, going like this. And I thought, that's my boy.
Yeah,
that's what he wanted to
maybe it's just a lot of emotions for him. I mean, it's so weird. Like players do come back and haunt teams.
Yeah,
but,
he's done it twice now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He obviously scored against them in the cup earlier in the season. So,
but we are unbeaten against Newcastle in the Premier League at home, and we have got that. There was something about the two teams when they face. Is that I don't know, like that bit of bitterness. And,
they don't come in here, do they?
They don't, and you can see it with their tactics as well. They were dying to get a free kick or a penalty, and that's what annoyed me about that situation. That's not how I know Newcastle to play, and I guess it's credit to Brighton for frustrating them. But you never like a team that goes out. I mean, I thought it was clear that's what their tactics were.
Yeah, I thought the Diego Gomez chance was the moment. You know, where it felt like we were frustrated, as you say, a lot during the game, particularly from officials. I don't like to call out officials. I'm not one that likes to complain about referees. I never would take a refereeing performance and put it linear to the result, because I don't think it's fair, because I feel like you just sound salty as opposed to actually looking what went wrong in the game. But that game particularly, there was, obviously 2 disallowed penalties, and it's the 50-50s that we were losing, and I was thinking, So it's going a little bit far, and I actually thought O'Reilly, to a lot of people's disagreement, I did think that was a penalty myself. Maybe it was soft, maybe I've gone into the game's gone mode, but I did think that was
I thought it was a stonewall. I think so. The hand, I mean, I'm more thinking like, did he do it on purpose? Because I know he moved the hand down.
Oh, sorry, I meant the one where O'Reilly got kicked. He almost got kicked in the legs. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
I agree.
Sorry,
that one was a foul.
I was thinking that way. Yeah.
No, I do think that was handball. Obviously, I mean, he's got his hand now. It's a silly thing to do.
I mean, it was close, and it was coming down rather than protecting himself. So, yeah, it made me think it was on purpose, which is so stupid that late in the game. But no, what was the one you were saying about the foul?
I thought O'Reilly got kicked.
Yeah.
I can't remember who kicked him now. It's one of the, obviously, Newcastle defenders. I thought that one, not to sound, as I say, like I'm being bitter over the fact they had 3 penalties and we could have had 1, but it probably spoke more to the overall game for me as to how it really went.
Yeah.
It felt like we weren't, I'd almost have to watch it back, to be honest, but it felt like nothing was going our way. Maybe it was just going to be one of those days, but when it came to that Gomez moment, I thought that's the moment where you then you can have your chance to just stop everything, silence everybody. When that went wide, I thought, okay, yeah, it's over. But I'll take a point.
Yeah, I think it's just riding your luck. I'm like a big believer that, like, if you have a bad refereeing performance one game, you'll get it back in another. Like the season does even itself out. Maybe statistics will prove differently, but I think it's really important as a fan and as a player is not to let that side of it get to you. And I think you touched on that as well. Is, you know, if you're the better team, the cream always rises to the top. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think that's really where I'm at this season. It's the performances have been very inconsistent, as I say. Yeah. We've had some good performances, some obviously not so good ones, and it's probably not having that middle ground of in between where you've got that stability. Yeah, that's the word. And that's probably where I'm a bit like unsure going into the end of this season. Whereas normally I'd probably go, yeah, well, at least we'll play well, and I'll be able to be very fairly confident in thinking, yeah, we're going to try and dominate the ball. We'll try and, you know, play the Brighton way as we do. We don't do that quite so much, and we do tend to rely on those little moments. Obviously, with Joao Pedro, Jorginho, who could be coming back at some point, we were sort of half briefed into believing whether it will actually happen or not. I don't want to hold out too much hope on him because I do think that ankle injury looked a little bit rough. But again, you're probably without those 2 players. The goals from Welbeck, you don't want to rely on him too much, do you? I mean, in terms of that attack going forward, there probably isn't, apart from Minte and Mitoma, who's also had the struggle with his back recently. I think it was the Holgate challenge personally that definitely did that. There's no coincidence for me. Losing out key players into a key end of the season moment where you then look over your shoulders. How are you feeling about that?
I think when any new manager comes in, it's always an apprehensive time. I think even more so with his age and his experience, you know, no Premier League experience. So I think this whole season has almost been like a learning curve for him, and then adding injuries on top of that. So not having a consistent team, that's going to lead to inconsistent performances as well. I'm more interested in those lone players that have gone out. You know, like you said, the attacking players, like what's going to happen to Evan Ferguson and Seco. Like those are players that we could really do with right now. And what the thought process was behind like them going out on loan. Was it not fitted into Fabian's plans? Or is it them wanting guaranteed first-team football? Because, again, I find that quite strange. Like, Ipswich you kind of get, but West Ham are a team that, well, they are fighting relegation, or they were fighting relegation. But when we make that loan move, you know, they could potentially be competing with us for that mid-table pushing on European places.
I think the Ferguson one's a strange one for me because it's clear that he is lacking confidence here. And we're almost thinking if Ferguson scores, it will almost do him the world of good. And weirdly, he did score, if you remember. And then we didn't see him again. Yeah. And I found that a bit strange. I thought, okay, maybe there's been some sort of falling out or something behind the scenes. I guess we'll never truly know that. But then obviously he goes on loan. I think, okay, where's he going to go? West Ham to a Potter's West Ham? I mean, look, Graham obviously did a good job here. But there was one thing that he didn't do a good job here. And that was the goals that we could have scored under him. And I think the confidence that we had back then throughout 2020, 21, where we defied the odds by being in the top 4 of the XG table, but actually in the bottom 5 of the Premier League real table. And that is a direct correlation to strikers' confidence. And I thought, if you're then sending a centre forward whose confidence is on the floor to a manager who couldn't get the best out of strikers when he was here, I just found that a very weird scenario when you see on the complete flip side with a manager like Roberto De Zerbi, who's probably key attribute, if not just tactically, getting the best out of the players that he had available to him and getting the confidence out of the players that he had available to him was probably his best attribute, I would say. You know, you had Solly March, for example, in his all-time best season. You had Mitoma going from playing left-back under Potter to playing as probably one of the best, most exciting wingers in the league. We went from being a team that couldn't score to being a team that was one of the highest scorers in the division at the time. I thought, give him to someone, not saying to Marseille.
Oh, I think give him to Marseille. That's
a
what I'm
team that's going to get the best out of him, right?
And that plays that attacking way and the confidence in the team. De Zerbi is known for that. And, you know, it was sad when he left.
Yeah.
But I was also, it was kind of like the end of a saga.
Yeah.
He was a sought-after manager. It was almost like we had this manager that was going to leave at any point, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Insecurity. Do you know what I mean? It almost felt like he wins 3 games in a row and he's linked to every single job.
Yeah.
And we're not getting that at the moment, which I guess kind of tells you the story of where we're at. But at least then that hopefully brings a little bit of stability for next season. If we can get those players not being injured, and also like Fabian, like not, you know, understanding his team a little bit more. I think the squad size is obviously quite big, and it'd be interesting to see what we do in the transfer window.
I think transfer window wise is interesting one. I saw a couple of links in the last couple of days. I saw Verbruggen's link to Chelsea, which I'd be very surprised to see that happen, to be honest. I think the ones that would probably worry me, and I don't know if you agree with me here, is looking at the likes of João Pedro and Karim Mitoma. I think if there's probably a player or two that do go, I wouldn't be too surprised to see it be them two, just on the basis of how Barber likes to talk about our sales so regularly. And I could see maybe, you know, particularly if you wanted to cash in, not on Aaron, but on probably a player like João Pedro, I could see that possibly happening. I don't know if you probably would agree with those two names.
I was thinking more Belieber.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm worried because that's a sought-after position. Mitoma, I'm not, as much as I love him, I do think that could be a sale that could just be good for all parties. And I know it was close in January, wasn't it, to Saudi?
He had the
fee was all agreed or whatever, but he didn't want to leave the club. Was from what I heard. It could be wrong. Pedro, I think, will be sought out. You know, like everyone's looking for a striker at the moment. Everyone's looking for a defensive midfielder, and I think they're the positions that we're going to be tested for. But also what I don't want to see with the team is that every season our 2 best players are leaving, and we've got to get out of that habit. I think we're in a good financial position, and we just need to strengthen the squad, have that squad depth. If we're going to be competing in Europe, if that's the aim, which I think it is, then we need to have that depth in the squad to be able to put on a good title charge, or not title charge, but league charge, where we're
I'd love a title charge.
But like top half of the table and balance in Europe, it should be the ultimate goal here.
Yeah,
because any team from the mid-table that is doing Europe and the Premier League at the same time will always struggle, and that's to do with the squad depth.
Yeah,
and
I think Villa are probably a good example of a team that financially are in a different stratosphere to us, probably in terms of wages they can put out. But obviously have got the balance of being able to be in both Champions League. I know they're knocked out now, but they made a really good account of themselves there, and actually credit to them, to be honest, because I actually wasn't sure. I thought, okay, they got there, will they be able to cope with it? Newcastle didn't quite so much. But Villa have done a very good job of it. But at the same time, the money they've spent on various different players, I mean, obviously coming into January and bringing in Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio is just absolutely crazy. Marlon as well is another one. They've got an absolutely stacked team. So if they do lose these players, they have replacements ready for them. And whilst I look at Villa and think that, I actually look at us and think the same. I look back on last season and I saw a really good piece by Dogma. I seem to always see a good piece by Dogma. I feel like I shout them out way too regularly. You need to be paying me for this, boys. But they got me a free subscription. I'll be all right. But no, they put on a really good piece of, is there such thing as a transitional season? And I thought it was a good question because I think, you know, you hear the term transition season all the time. We go through, I mean, last season was our transition season, if I remember rightly. Everyone at the time was saying we've had a tough season. We got into Europe with big learning curve. I think I remember saying on this podcast at the end of it, saying, okay, we'll draw a line under it. We know what not to do in terms of we get to Europe, sell big players and then struggle throughout pretty much. And it wasn't, you know, I thought we made a good account of ourselves in Europe, but in the league, we certainly suffered in terms of squad depth. This season, we actually came into it with a good squad. I think balanced with 2 or 3 positions everywhere until you got to defence. I think that's where we started to struggle a little bit. Rightly or wrongly, bringing Aaron Cash in the January window, who I think's only made 1 appearance since being here, and that's a bit of a strange one on my point of view. But still, I still think the squad available with Van Hecke, with Lewis Dunk, even with his injuries, you had Igor, Adam Webster was in really good form at one point. You could even dip into the 23s if you really, really, really had to. Baleba stepped up well at centre-back. I thought, actually, that squad we've got available to us now, is it a transition?
Well, but potential. I mean, the way I look at it is almost like you've got the season and almost like then a 3-year plan. If you think how we've come up, the first 3 years was all about survival. The second 3 years was about stability. And now we're in that third batch of 3 years, which is top half finishes and pushing for Europe. And I think, and that's what I mean, looking at the bigger picture, I think what's difficult is that whenever we do well, teams are sniffing around us like vultures, you know, for our best players. And I think the plan is right. I'd rather be in Brighton's situation than maybe Villa's. In terms of the money, I think there could be something coming on the horizon for Villa in terms of their PSR. I think they've, like, Tony Bloom's a gambling man. But what Villa are doing is a massive gamble. They're literally like putting it all on red in a casino, and they're hoping, crazy. And they might not get Champions League. And if they don't, then that's going to cause a problem down the road.
I think, I mean, obviously, I don't think Rashford will stay there. The loans are obviously expensive ones. We tried it once, didn't we, with Ansu Fati?
Yeah.
Whether it was right or wrong, I don't know. I actually I'm in the Ansu fan camp, which is very rare. I think that when I look around nearly anyone, they say, Ryan, you're delusional. Yeah. But I was like, no, I see something in him. I think he could have been something. I think that the problem was he just didn't think he could have been himself. I felt like his confidence just wasn't there enough. Yeah. Don't think he actually believed he was the Ansu that was at Barca back in the day. I think he just was a shadow of it, personally.
That transfer actually really shocked me from a Brighton point of view, because I can see why they've gone from him. Like, statistically, there's something there. You know, he's got all the ingredients to be a fantastic player, but it's not really the Brighton way.
No.
Not, you know, signing a player from a major team, it is not something we normally like uncover gems rather than take gems in some respects. And I think that taught us a lesson, I think, is that a little bit more homework, that sounds the wrong, but like believe in our philosophy, you know, and this is what I mean with it. It's difficult, isn't it? Like I said, first 3 seasons is players to keep us in the league. Second 3 seasons is players to get that mid-table. Now we need to be looking at players that can push us to that next level, whether that's squad depth or experience in the league. You know, I love players like James Milner. I thought he was amazing. Yeah. You know, no bells, no whistles, but someone that can really like give the players that experience of what it takes to see out games. And that's almost like what we're missing at the moment, is that experience and that calmness in the team, just to settle everything down, just be like, you know, we can see a 1-0 win out.
If you were to trust Twitter,
I
don't know if you do, I don't.
No.
I saw John Stones was linked in the week. I mean, I think John Stones is a strange one, because I used to not rate him, and then he turned into probably one of the best ball-playing centre-backs in the world at one point when he was winning the Champions League with City, into the English side really dominantly. Injuries have plagued him. I did speak to, I shout out Freddie, City Extra, is a good guy. And he said, still top, but just injured every 3 games. And whether you want to take a risk on someone like that, in the past, we've done it. Worked with Welbeck, you know, who we actually managed to identify his issue, solved that problem that caused him so much havoc over his Watford and Arsenal career. And actually, we got probably the best of Danny Welbeck, I'd say. But then, of course, it can go wrong. You can have a player as absolutely brilliant. I love Adam Lallana. I don't want to slate him at all. I think he's a great coach, great guy, great mentor around the squad. But he can't argue against his injury record. And I think when you then take a gamble on an injury-prone player, you're looking for experience, great. But then also, do you want to see him actually play in that team? I guess you've got that mixture between someone like James Milner, who can help in the back room, but realistically isn't going to play a game for you nowadays. Would you take a gamble on someone again, like a John Stones, for example?
I think it's what's needed. I think that balance, I think Chelsea's project is similar, looking over there where they've got this strategy which is clear for everyone
Chelsea
to see.
haven't put a bid in for this place, to be fair.
Well, everything Brighton. Yeah. I think the interesting thing with them is that they're going down this like Brighton theory on steroids, but the thing with any team is the balance, and I think you only get balance with experience in there as well. Chelsea stripped all that experience out and they're struggling without it, and now I think they're calling out for a little bit, 26 to 29-year-olds to come and join the team. I just don't think it's a bad thing, as long as we're not someone's retirement home, which I don't think we ever are. We're not that sort of team. They can offer the players something, even if they're not playing. Do you know what I mean? Having that experienced head in the dressing room, sitting alongside the young team that we have got, is only a good thing. And John Stones, I think, would be a good addition. Just take his wages and quarter them, and that's why I do trust the club. Like, if we are to get those experienced players, it will be for a project rather than for them just to sit on the bench and earn a living. Do you know what I mean?
I get exactly what you mean.
It could be to get their coaching badges, or just for them to still prove that they can work in the Premier League. Someone like Vardy could be.
Vardy would be funny.
And that'd be an interesting one. But I don't think he would be the right
non-Brighton players of all time. He is just on the base of some of the celebrations over the years are absolutely fantastic. But one of the players actually that was a similar scenario, I think, it was Mats Hummels. If you remember last year, I think
we were linked
with him, but then it was between that and retirement for him, and he couldn't decide. And I wasn't there on the negotiation, but you're then looking at someone thinking, world-class footballer, one of the best in his position for so many years, but if you're not sure whether you want to play or not, do you want to take that risk? Probably not. And actually, it's probably a bit of a bullet dodged in that respect, because he obviously went to Roma, I believe. He actually went through two clubs. He was at someone else, and I can't remember who it was. But he went through two clubs in the same period of time. And he's now retired within that short space of time. And you probably haven't seen the Mats Hummels that probably could have been the Mats Hummels of before. So you want to make sure they're coming in for the right reasons. I think John Stones would be a nice one. Provided he's on a free as well, I believe. So that would also help.
I think Premier League experience is the key thing as well. Like Hummels, I just see as Mr. Dortmund, and I think he did go out on loan, or he did go somewhere and then came back to
Bayern,
Dortmund,
didn't he?
Yeah, did it work there as well? Or?
No, I think he was good. I think he's just one of them. He's just a class act. I've always found the Dortmund and Bayern thing really weird. How they're so open between trading between each club. I always find that a weird one. I mean, us and Chelsea are kind of similar, I guess, but we don't tend to get too much back from them. It's just more take from their point of view. I'd quite like to see us go in there and take somebody else, but I don't think that's probably going to happen.
I mean, we did have Colwell on loan, but
that's took him back off.
But that's stop. I think we just need to stay clear of Chelsea now.
Agreed.
I think
don't answer the phone.
They're doing my head in a little bit.
Listen to us, Tony.
But it's all very well like trading with the right teams, and Chelsea again will have their PSR issue. They're going to have to balance. I think if we're in a strong position. Because I was listening to TalkSport earlier, it's like putting the club in a position where you're taking advantage of PSR rather than being susceptible to it. Because as soon as you're susceptible, then you get like a Minter issue at Newcastle where there is a player we're going to have to sacrifice to get through that period. Whereas if we're in a good position financially, which I believe we are, then we can be looking around those teams like Villa potentially, being like, actually, who's a good up-and-coming player for Villa that we can then take and alleviate their situation, but actually we're going to be the winners from it.
Well, realistically, we probably didn't have much of a chance in signing Minte if it wasn't for the rules. I mean, if you put 30 million at Newcastle without the rules, they would have laughed at us all the way out, and I would have completely agreed with them. So, yeah, there's definitely that, and I think that's one thing I'll always be very confident with. I don't think, so long as Tony Bloom's in charge, if he was to sell up and we could completely, rogue and everything changes, then that's when my mind changes. But I'm always quite confident that, even bringing in someone like Stefan Simas that we're going to see next season, I have a lot of hope that he'll be okay, just on the basis of our track record of putting 20 plus million into somebody. So there's always that reassurance. But I think at the same time, you need the incentives. And I think the incentive for keeping and attracting players is the guarantee of Europe. I think if you can guarantee the fact that they're going to be in a European competition next season in a Brighton shirt, whether it's Conference, Europa League or Champions League. I know the blue one's a little bit further adrift than us going for the green one. But still, I think you need that almost to attract and to keep players. Do you agree? Do you think that's a way of...
Yeah, like I think you said it earlier, stability...
Proof of concept, right?
Stability in the team is one thing, like so that consistency. I believe we're in that stage now where we've had Europe, we've had the taste, we like the taste. We now need to make sure we are qualifying for Europe every single season. It's not like, because even Newcastle are struggling as well, so we're not the only ones. You get it, and then you fall down in the Premier League because you're putting all your concentration into Europe. I think that's it should be our real aim for us now, is that if we do get in Europe, how do we get there again and
Agreed.
again and again? And then that's almost like stage 3 completed.
Yeah.
Like with the transfers, we've gone through that period of 3 to 5 million on these up and coming players. It is now 20 to 25 or potentially 30 million on players.
40,
and that's and this is where we're at with the plan as well. I believe, those 2 to 3 million players just aren't going to cut the mustard in the team anymore. But we've also got to be to make sure that when we are recruiting, it's going to be 100% right, which is difficult with any team, or as right as it can be, because the risks are becoming bigger. But you are right, with Tony Bloom, you kind of feel like he has got a proven track record in this. His company Star Lizard is out there finding these players and alerting them to who could be the next big thing.
It'd be interesting to see how Tony's analysis is of the season. He's never been one that goes by results, never been one that likes to see the team, he won't look at the league table as such, he'll probably look at the underlying numbers. I'll be really intrigued to see what he thinks going into the summer and the activity we go for. But just final bits really. Last 3 games, who's the next one? It's gone up my head. Wolves away.
Wolves are in very good form as well, and this is what we're going to find now, that form, but also the pressure. Wolves are just being, like they're lower end of the table. They've got
Pereira's a top manager.
He is, but they've got less to play for. So I would like to think that we're going to see that one out. You'd hope so, because these should be like 3 cup finals now. For the rest of the season, and players coming back at the right time as well, like you said earlier. I'm always confident. I'm always like, it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Yeah, hope that kills you. So we'll see. It will be a tough game. I've been keeping a big eye on Wolves recently, seeing their results, but also seeing the way they play. The influence Pereira's had there has been pretty incredible. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be I think that would actually be probably the biggest test of these 3.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool, you like to hope you're on the beach. You might be able to catch you off guard. And Spurs are just who we are, mate. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's been an absolute pleasure, Stephen.
Thank you so much for coming into Etch today.
It's been great. I've really loved it. I'll give this last bit a try. So what was this one? Sorry.
That's the cheese and onion. So that's that English pecorino.
English pecorino.
Yeah.
I shouldn't eat cheese. That's nice.
Yeah, it's a sheep's cheese, so should be.
Oh, I'll be fine.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Oh, good. A little taste of what we do in the restaurant.
I'll tell you what, that tastes like what's those little things you get at
Ritz.
A party?
Like
those little cheesy things.
Yeah.
You know those ones I mean?
Like cheese biscuits.
It's like that, but on drugs.
Yeah. Well, that's how I love all my food to be like a little bit nostalgic. And like I said earlier, like the effect Pringles has is dangerous. And it's just like creating food that is almost addictive.
Going off the flavours.
Yeah.
That's really good. I'm going to have another one of them in a minute. But thank you for this. And thank you for having us down here. I'm sure we'll catch it again at some point in Etch. Make sure you come here, of course, for any parties probably and any celebrations you want to enjoy. Stephen, if you want to give a little plug into the cameras, anything you want to say, feel free.
Yeah, like don't be scared of Etch. I know it's got that, the reputation we built up, but we're doing £55 for our 5-course taste menu. Come and see us, especially at lunchtimes, and have a great time.
There you go. Absolutely spot on. Follow Steve, and I'll leave all the links in the comments below. Come to Etch here in Hove, and we'll see you just after Wolves. I really can't. Oh, we're going again. Anyway, thank you all for watching. See you soon, and goodbye.